That down. Let's move on to the Chicago Bears, shall we? Look, nobody was picking the Chicago Bears to win the Super Bowl this year, okay? But having won the Caleb Williams Bowl, hopes were high. And hey, listen, actually, the last 4 weeks or so, Caleb Williams, he's adjusting to the NFL game. I mean, they haven't won anything, but he's clearly becoming better and better and better. Still has some rust to shake off. All that kind of. Bo Nix is probably the best quarterback pick right now. But Caleb Williams, long run, could end up still being the best quarterback taken out of this class. That being said, the Bears have lost a lot. And
that's how they got him.
that's how they got him in the first place. Yeah. So they've lost a lot, but more importantly, and to the topic here, they've lost a number of games that have come down to critical mistakes. Some of them, coaching mistakes. Eberflus had been on the hot seat, but the general consensus around the sports sphere was Chicago's not going to get rid of him. That was the general consensus. Hot seat, yes. Under the microscope, yes. But the general consensus was he was still looked at as a pretty good football guy, and despite all the losing and how they're losing, probably not necessarily going to get rid of him. Well, then this week's game happened. A number of mistakes through the game, but the one that everybody obviously talked about came down to the final. Chicago's got the ball. They're marching down the field to tie or possibly win the game. They're down by 3, I think they were at the time. And there was like, play gets busted up. There's 36 seconds left. 36, 37, 38, something like that. They still had one timeout. And with Caleb Williams having just been sacked, a bunch of receivers still down the field having to run back, clock's ticking, instead of calling the timeout, Matt Eberflus just let the clock run and sat on the timeout. They got off a snap, but while the play was running, the clocks hit zeros and they lost the game. Now, had they called timeout, they would have had a litany of options in their bag, like a couple of incomplete passes you had, complete a pass, get out of bounds, complete a pass, get to the ground quickly, run up to the line, spike the ball. They had a lot of options still left to them. Had they successfully and wisely used the timeout. Instead, they did the one thing they couldn't do. The one thing any idiot would have known not to do. Don't keep the timeout in your pocket. And the game hit all zeros while the play was going on. That was just a bridge too far. That at that point, ownership couldn't look at the fan base in the face. In light of all the losing and everything else and all the other flubs that have happened, this was the one thing that they couldn't look at and say, we got to let this slide. They couldn't. And whereas all the sports commentators were calling it inexcusable, it looked like the ownership agreed it was inexcusable. Yeah. Like there's no coming back from that. From a decision that primary, there was no coming back, and they pulled the trigger and they fired him. Now, look, I think if Chicago going into that week was like 9-6 or something like that, or 9-5, whatever, whichever week it was, week 13, I think he would take a lot of heat and then he would have been put on the microscope for it, but maybe he would have survived. But the fact of the matter is, you can't make a mistake like that when you're having the kind of season you're having, and the previous mistakes have started to pile up. I mean, look, they lost the game. I think, listen, they lose that game, but he calls timeout with 36 seconds left and they still lose. So I think he still has the job today.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think there's anything and it's so rare. I can't think of many examples. Like there are a couple, but I can't think of many examples in the NFL where one decision cost the coach's job. But this might be one of those.
Yeah.
You think that this is the one?
You can like mismanage a game and do that stuff, but that time management stuff at the end of NFL games is the most important stuff. That's like, if you don't get it, that will cost you games. And like, you know, people always say like, we played Madden. You learn how to manage the clock in Madden. It's like the first thing you learn how to do. You know what I mean?
True.
So, yeah. So like, you know, otherwise you're just keeping those timeouts in your pocket, and then the time runs out, and then you know that's. It's the worst. So yeah, you learn that pretty quick. So I can see if ownership's like, this is the easy one. This is the one we have to get right.
Yeah, and they could have been, I mean, who knows what would have happened if they did call time, whatever, but they could have had the chance to tie or beat the Lions.
Yeah.
Who are one of the best teams. Yeah. And I think a botch that bad Which when I was watching it, I was watching it at the casino for Thanksgiving, and the guy next to me, both of us were dumbfounded. We're like, both of us, as soon as they got sacked, we both said timeout, and then nothing happened. And then we said, why aren't they calling timeout? And then 10 more seconds went by, and then another. And I'm like, they're not going to even get the playoff. They barely got the playoff, and they didn't get anything out of it. So,
I remember I was actually in the car because I was on my way to meet Ann. And so I couldn't watch the last part of the game, but I'm in the car on my way to meet Ann, and all of a sudden my text message started going nuts. Ann is like, "Can you believe it? They choked. Yeah. They blew it." I'm like, "What happened?" I almost wanted to pull the car over and open up YouTube and take a look, see what happened.
The other thing that was kind of, I don't want to say crazy, but kind of another thing about the Bears, how people were kind of clowning them. They let him do a press conference in the morning.
Oh, before they fired him.
And then they fired him like 3 hours later. Like, why do they let him do that?
You know what? Here's like this. There's a theory going around. I don't think I buy the theory, but there's a theory going around because in that press conference,
like maybe that's why they did it.
He defended the decision.
Oh well, maybe that's why he did it then.
And there's some most people believe in what is probably the case was that the decision had probably been made, or the final meeting to make the final decision might have been going on while the press conference was going on. I don't know, but there are some people out there believe that him going out there to that like he was on razor thin ice at that point. Then he goes up to the podium and actually defended the decision to not call it out. A friend of mine sent me this tweet. I can't remember who made it, but this tweet said Tuesday. It was Tuesday it was Friday morning. It said the Chicago Bears have called another press conference to use their final timeout.
Yeah,
it's like ooh, harsh.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
it could have been. You're right. It could have been like, oh, look, give him the benefit of the doubt. And then he did that press conference. They're like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
what happened out there, Matt? I don't know. I blew it. And then they're like, all right, we'll just go talk to the press. And
yeah,
I
wonder. It's not my fault.
I think I got it.
Yeah, I wonder if he went out there and says, look, we have a culture of accountability here, and this one's on me.
Yeah.
You know, it was going down. I kind of thought maybe we could pull this off or whatever, and then use my timeout. But clearly that was a tactical mistake.
Yeah.
And we have a culture of accountability. This one's on me. I wonder if he came out and just said that.
I'm Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, what
I wonder if he's not coaching this week.
Yeah, maybe.
If that happened.
Yeah,
Pull the Eberflus.
Eberflus, man.
I am Eberflus.
Yeah.
That's going to be a new thing in the NFL. Oh, he pulled an Eberflus.
Yeah, Eberflus.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about that? I mean, like maybe when you were watching it live, could you maybe see what he was going for? I could not. I could not see behind his veil of genius to see what was the machinations that were going on.
Stevie Wonder saw it.
So, I couldn't see it.
He's already out. We don't even
need to pile on some more.
Yeah.
So, guys, whatever you guys thought, jump. And the question: do you think if he just came out in that press conference and just said, "Yep, screw up was on my part. Like we make mistakes as a coaching staff. This one was on me. We're going to learn from it. We're going to." Do you think maybe he's still coaching this week? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts.